Hi guys, welcome to Inside Hyrox. Today I'm going to be taking you on a guided venue tour around Hyrox Cardiff. Hyrox Cardiff is the very latest Hyrox venue to be added to the Hyrox UK schedule. It will appear on the diary around the end of May and likely close down all of the seasons therefore after. The very first thing we're going to cover is the fact that this is the UK's first stadium-based Hyrox event, so it's very exciting. Lots of things to talk about. Now, I would normally film these introductions outside the venue. Hi guys, welcome to Inside Hyrox, and I did in fact record that when I was there. However, when I got inside, I realised that there was one significant problem that was sort of inhibiting how I would normally film this video. The venue is at the Principality Stadium, and this is the home of the Welsh national rugby team, and the entire Hyrox footprint takes place within the bounds of a rugby pitch. Now, they're not doing it on the grass, there's an artificial floor that's been put over, but they're still working to that footprint. Now, you would assume that a rugby pitch would be plenty of space to put a Hyrox event, the 8 exercise stations, but there is a lack of space, and the very first thing to go is the spectator channels. The spectator channels is where you get up close to the exercise stations, where you can support the people that you are there to see, but it also has a bearing on how I film this video. And as soon as I got into the venue, I realized that I could not film this in the conventional way where I'd mooch around with my camera. But for the sake of completeness, I still wanted to have a pop and include Hyrox Cardiff in my playlist. So I'm going to be filming it through a long lens and discussing it with you like this. Now, these videos I make are designed and intended really for newish people to Hyrox. Whether you're a complete noob or you've just been once or twice and you're still relatively green to the sport. Alternatively, this might be someone who is interested in coming and competing at Cardiff for the first time. If you want to see what it's actually like, these videos are really useful for that. These videos are meant to sort of demystify, answer a lot of the questions so you can see with your own eyes what a Hyrox looks like, how it hangs together and how it all operates on race day. I've recorded this set against the backdrop of the men's opens waves toward the start on the Saturday. So if you do see yourself, just drop a comment down below, say hi and give the channel a subscribe while you're there. Right, let's get started. Okay, so the Principality Stadium, the venue of Hyrox Cardiff. Let's bring the map up and let's cross off some points of interest straight away. When you get to Hyrox Cardiff, you will be aiming for the rear of the stadium. There are gates around the back where crowds would normally attend rugby matches. You're looking for gates 5, 6 or 7, depending on which one they use on the day. And this will funnel you through security. Beyond security, you will approach the registration area. The athlete's registration would likely be first. And if you are an athlete, you would be required to show your QR code and some form of ID at this point. If you have them ready, it will just mean you will get through registration efficiently. At registration, you will get an ankle timing chip as well as your Hyrox band for your wrist and have a number written on your arm. The number on your arm is relevant to your time and your wave. Beyond that, there is a spectator registration. This is where if you've got any spectators with you, people that have come to watch, this is where they get their bands, and then you will inevitably go through security to check those bands, make sure you've got them on. Beyond this, you will start to pass some of the other areas. You'll pass changing rooms and bag checks. There's ample toilets at the stadium because it is a rugby stadium that it normally houses thousands and thousands of people. So there is literally bathrooms every 20 meters all the way around the stadium. The merch shop and the vendor stands, they will be located on the outside, on the concourse where you would normally get refreshments and toilets. And then you will sort of turn inward into the venue itself. You are now at the top of the grandstands, coming down the stairs toward the centre where all of the exercise stations are. As you come down these steps, you will see all 8 exercise stations laid out in front of you, and this is where you get an impression of how small and how compressed the 8 exercise stations are at Hyrox Cardiff. And this is because, as I mentioned earlier, the spectator avenues that you would get at other venues have been taken out to preserve the space. There is a single bridge that runs over the running track toward the finish point. Now, this is labelled on the map as Thunderdrome. This is where historically you would stand to look at the wall balls. But I believe that they changed the function of this halfway through the very first venue to provide it as a bridge only because it was getting getting saturated and people were standing on the bridge and it was getting blocked. So essentially, don't assume that this is where you can stand to video or to watch. This is simply a bridge to get over to the finishing area and back. All Hyrox venues have a backdrop and changing room area. Now, these actually occur at Hyrox Cardiff beyond the athlete's boundary. The athlete's boundary is where only athletes can go that are about to do their actual competition. You will be stopped and checked to make sure that you're about to compete. Beyond there is a changing room facility. Then there is the usual backdrop setup where you can drop your bag off and leave it in a secure compound. After this, there is a slight bit of navigation through the stands where you backtrack on yourself and go down beneath the main concourse to a large open area that is filled with all of the exercise equipment for Hyrox. And there's lots of space down there, an abundance of space, more space than we've seen at any other venue. After this, you will be funneled up the player tunnel. The player tunnel, this is where on match day, on rugby days, this is where the players will come out side by side and go off to their respective sides of the pitch. It is a very special place to be. So like at all Hyrox events, races start inside a Red Bull start tunnel. This is a giant blue box that is set off just to one side of the running track. Inside this is where the runners, the athletes, will congregate before their wave. You would normally get in there around 5 minutes before your start time, and everyone sort of huddles up and gets ready for their race. In front of you there is a screen with a motivational video and a countdown clock, and off to one side there will be another screen with details about the laps ahead of you. When you get down to about 10 seconds, they will start to pump out some smoke, and when you actually launch off the start line, you will take an immediate right onto the running track. The very first thing you'll notice when you start your race is that the floor is made up of big plastic tiles. They're very firm, but there's definitely some spring to them. And as the day goes on, the humidity and the moisture in the air can cause a little bit of slippiness on these tiles. So just be very careful when turning the corners. So station number one, it's the ski erg, 1,000 meters as fast as you can. Now, a few things to think about with regards to the ski. You will come into that station pretty hot and your wave will all be quite close together. Keep an eye on the referees. They will be pointing out which you should go on. Should you be doing doubles, keep an eye on your partner. You should be quite close together at this point. Your partner should be on that mat behind the station before you start pulling. Make sure that you let go of the handles, put them at the top when you swap over. With regards to pace, this is completely up to you, and singles and doubles will likely handle this quite differently. If you're a single, you might want to find a pace that you can maintain, something you've practiced in the gym. Some people say it should be at the pace where you can still talk. You shouldn't be going so fast or so hard that you break yourself in the first station. For me, I quite like to do a certain pace, like 150 up until around the 750 mark, and allow myself a little bit of taper off toward the end. This allows me to be a little bit fresher going into the next run. If you're doing doubles, then obviously you can break this up how you like. You can go really hard, you can do 200s each, or you can do 250s each. It's completely up to you. But obviously, if you do doubles, you can attack it with that much more power. So exercise station number two, it's the sled push. 4 times 12.5 meter runs totaling 50 meters at your respective weight. Now this is an area of contention at most races. People feel that the sled push is often much harder at a Hyrox event than it is in training when they're preparing for a Hyrox event. And this is for a few different reasons, but mostly it's because it's done over carpet rather than AstroTurf. That's the main difference between an event and your training environment. Now there's a few different techniques that people do on the day. The three that I have observed the most: the first one is underhand on the poles, quite low down, getting your weight over the sled, pushing sort of almost your face over the pole. The second that I've observed is pushing from the shoulders, flipping the hands up around here. And the last is straight arm. This is where it sort of opens up the chest, but because your body weight is so much further back, it's the least efficient of the three. Now with regards to brakes, some people will push until they can't push anymore and are forced to stop. Other people choose to put brakes in their runs about halfway to allow their legs to settle back down again just for a couple of seconds before taking in the second half, breaking it up into sort of 6 meter chunks, if you will. This, in turn, then allows you to run out of that station without being too laboured. If you blow up in the sleds, you will inevitably be forced to walk out of the station before you get the use of your legs and before your running efficiency returns. Exercise station number 3, it's the sled pull. 4 times 12.5 meter runs, 50 meters total at your respective weight. When you enter the sled pull arena, you will notice that there's some buckets located down the running side. It's important probably to get a little bit of that on your hands before you start, allowing a bit of grip on the rope. When you start pulling, it's important to take the tension out of the rope, so get yourself to the front of the line, lean over as far as you can and lean back. There are 3 main techniques as I see it. First and most common, it's the walk back. So you simply lean back, holding the rope, use your body weight and gravity to pull it to the back of the box and then repeat. Then there's the hip extension, where you simply hold it with both hands and pull it to your hips, standing up as you do it. And finally, there is the hand over hand method. Now, this is mainly for the stronger athletes. You are quite unlikely to be able to do that throughout the entire 50 meters. But I've also seen people combine the hand over hand with the walk back. This allows for a little bit of extra speed. I recommend running backwards and forwards between each of the pulls just to save a little bit of time, and ensure that when you get finished and when you're just about to run out, that you get back running as fast as you can. Exercise station number 4, it's the burpee broad jumps. 80 meters of burpee broad jumps. When you enter this station, you will see 2 lines on the ground, a white line and a purple line. When you start, you must go down into a burpee, putting your hands on the pink line. So you start with your chest on the ground, and then you start to initiate your burpees. There are 3 main techniques that I've noticed on the burpee broad jumps. The first is the most dynamic and the fastest, where you simply bunny hop through. You straight down into a burpee, straight up and jump. And you just continue to repeat that. I'd call this the frog or the bunny. You just work your way through. The second is the 1 foot up at a time. So you go down into the burpee quite quickly, but when you come up from the burpee, use 1 foot, then the other foot, and then jump. And finally, there is the old man burpee, as I call it, or the knee up burpee. And this is where you put a knee down before you go down into the chest to ground, and then you bring the knee up before you bring the foot up, and then you do your burpee. This is the most energy preserving of the techniques. Now, a few rules to think about on this one. You must not put your hands more than a foot in front of your toes when you go down, and when you bring your foot up, your toes must not go further forward than your fingertips. It's also important to jump with both feet at the same time, so you can't step as you go. So at the halfway point, I always like to take a second to talk about running. Now, I firmly believe that running is one of the most important components to a Hyrox event. Why? Well, Hyrox events are essentially 16 components. 8 of those components are running. And you would assume that it's a fair 50-50 split, but it's not. There is more running than there are exercise stations, and it is the biggest single exercise in the event. So you must prioritize running in your training. You absolutely must. In addition to the running around the arena, doing your 1 kilometer laps, there is inter-exercise running. So in and out of some of the exercise stations, as well as the rock zone, which is the zone between the exercise stations and the running track. So anywhere between 55 and 60% of this event is running. So how do you get better at running? Well, there's lots of different reasons, but running is how you get better at running, right? The more you do it, the fitter you get. But it isn't simply about volume, it's about what sort of running training you do. But including a variety of running is important. 1, long distance, low heart rate stuff. It is how you build up your base to sort of build up your tolerance to stress, do hills and speed. And then if you really want something Hyrox specific, learn how to do some compromised running. This is where you do something heavy in the gym and then do a run, and then do something heavy in the gym and then do another run. This builds up that resilience to wearing out your legs before using them again. Really important for Hyrox. Exercise station number 5, it's the row, 1,000 meters as fast as you can. Now, when you enter the row zone, the marshals will point you to your relative rowing station. Now, just be aware that there will be several groups of people from different waves in the station at this point in time, so make sure you pay attention to where they're sending you. In addition to this, when you get to the rower, make sure that you get both feet onto the rower before you start pulling. If you have a doubles partner, just ensure that they are on the mat behind you before you start. You can adjust the damper at any point. Just bear in mind that it's a difficult one to reach when you're actually on the rowing machine, and if you do have a partner, they must not touch any of that. You must do that yourself. So 1,000 meters as fast as you can. I generally like to use the same rules on this as I do the skier. I try to find a pace that I've practiced in the gym that I know I can maintain without gassing out too hard. The row is notorious for breaking the next run. If you go extremely hard in a row over 1,000 meters, the very next run will be extremely difficult. So find a pace you know you can sustain. For me, I like to get up to around 150 like I did in the ski, and then taper off a little bit toward the end, and then at around 980 do the last pull and allow that last few meters to tick over while you catch your breath and then out into the next run. Exercise station number 6, it's the farmer's carry, 200 meters carrying your respective kettlebell weight. This is my favorite. I love it. It's just simplicity. It's go as fast as you can carrying something from point A to point B. When you approach the kettlebell station, you will see 3 sets of kettlebells. Make sure you get the right set. There should be a referee there directing you to your weight. There'll also be a bucket that'll have chalk in it. Make sure you put lots on your hands because the kettlebells can get a little bit slippy as you work your way around the course. Now this is a race against time, really, against your grip failing. So going as fast as you can makes the most sense. Trying to get round here as quickly as possible, else when your grip fails, you will have to put the weights down. Now, if you have to put the weights down in the farmer's carry, that is completely fine. You just put them down and pick them up wherever you end up stopping. If you have a doubles partner, you will have to take it in turns, and the trailing partner must be behind the working partner. And this is so other people can get by you and you can get by them and you don't get in each other's way. There's not a lot of movement standards with regards to this. The only real rule that people must obey is when they put the kettlebells back, they go back inside the box that they got them from and they must be stood up before you can go out on the next run. Exercise station number 7, it's the sandbag lunges, 100 meters as fast as you can at your respective weight. When you get to the exercise station, you will see that there's 3 lots of sandbags. Please choose the correct weight for your category before putting the sandbag over your shoulders and making your way to the start line. You must lunge over the start line completely. Neither your forefoot or your rear foot can touch the white line and your knee must touch the ground. Now there's 3 main techniques that I've seen for this. The first is to stride through. This is the fastest of the techniques. If you are strong through lunges, you can just simply walk it all the way 100 meters. The second technique that I've seen is something that I refer to as the 2-step. This is where you bring your feet together at the top of every repetition. This allows you to slow down and preserve energy as you go. And finally, the more sort of modern technique that I've seen, a bit of a hybrid, is where people tap their toe as they bring their rear foot up. It just slows down the lunges a little bit so your legs don't blow up. With regards to movement standards, the sandbag lunges seem to have the most associated with them. So it's important you know all of them so you don't get any penalties. The first and most important is your knee must touch the ground with every repetition. You must alternate your strides. You must lunge over the start line and the finish line, and even the turnaround point lines. Your feet must not touch the white line at all or you'll be made to do another. At the top of each repetition, your hips must fully extend, so you must be stood up completely straight at the top of every repetition. And most importantly, you must not put your sandbag down at any point between the start line and the finish line, else you will get a big penalty for that. Finally, you must put your sandbag back into the box from which you got it from. Exercise station number 8, it's the wall balls, 100 repetitions from a squat to a wall ball target at your respective weight, at your respective target. This is now all that stands between you and the finish line, and it's completely up to you how you actually do it. The targets themselves are digital these days, and there's a little screen that shows you what repetition you're on. You will have a judge stood behind you with a tablet watching your depth. The main movement standards are depth. You need to break parallel with your squat. Your hips must go below your knees. The referee behind you, if they see a no rep, if it's not deep enough, they will press the no rep and it will come up on the screen. Beyond that, all you've got to do is hit the target plumly with enough pressure for it to detect the repetition, and that will count. How you actually do this is completely up to you. If you are strong through the wall balls and you can do them all in one go, you'll get a little flag and a patch to say that you've done that. If you're a little bit weaker and you need to break, then you can do this however you like. You can cluster them like in 10s or in 20s. I like to do the 16, 15, 14, 13 technique. It's just a way of breaking them up in your mind. You can put the ball down at any point as long as you then start the next repetition with a squat. Once you have finished your 100th wall ball, the judge will give you the nod and you can run up to the finish line. All Hyrox events finish the same way. They have a stage, they have a ramp, they have the final timing mat, and behind them there is a ginormous screen that will display your time as you run up the ramp. On the stage there will be a photographer. He will have several cameras and he will take your final finish photo. Make that photo count. That's my biggest piece of advice for the finish. When you actually do finish, you can roll around on the stage. There's no pressure to go straight away. You can just take a second to compose yourself. Once you are good, back up on your feet, go get yourself some drinks in the cool down area, which will be immediately adjacent to the stage. Beyond that, you can go and have your photo taken against the timing TV, and then you can get your patch and back out into sort of the general population of the stadium, back to your loved ones. Okay, that's the end of Inside Hyrox Cardiff. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you are interested in any of the other UK venues, I've made a similar video about all of them. If you are, there's a playlist. I've also put the links to those videos down in the description to this one. Thanks for watching. If you've got any criticisms or compliments about Hyrox Cardiff, drop them down in the comments below. It's always interesting to hear other people's experiences of the same venue, whether it be a different day. If you see yourself in this video, just drop a comment down below, say hi, say you've seen yourself. Remember guys, please give the channel a subscribe. It's really important. It helps keep me motivated to going out and creating Hyrox content. I've got lots of other videos coming soon, so please press the button. Right, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in my next video soon. Mart out.